All right, Paul. Obviously, the big news with Everton is the Friedkin takeover, and there are some rumors that they may be able to change Dominic Calvert-Lewin's mind about a potential new contract. How big of a deal would it be for Everton to keep Calvert-Lewin with that new contract?
But listen, I said before on the pod, he's got to keep fit. He's got to keep playing to the levels that he set himself. It's all well and good tying a player to a contract. If he's not performing, then you're wasting your money at the same time. I like Calvert-Lewin. I think he's a decent player. But I think it's keeping him fit, and it's keeping him fit for a long period of time. So as I said last week, I've seen him play a couple of times this season. When he's on it and he's closing down from the front and he's looking sharp, he looks the real deal. We're going to be talking about Everton a lot. We're talking about Calvert-Lewin a lot. We're talking about Everton a lot. They seem to go hand in hand. But until the uncertainty and everything's tied up off the pitch with the takeover, new contracts, players coming in, players leaving, I think it's all very hypothetical, and we're all trying to predict what's going to go on until we actually know who's in the hot seat, who owns the club, how much money they've got to spend, and we actually hear from them for the first time.
No doubt. And Pete, Everton obviously looking at some other attacking influence, an area they definitely need some help. Looking at Silas Mvumpa from Red Star Belgrade, potentially in January. Could this deal be one they could get over the line for not too much?
Yeah, obviously, as you said, they are looking to strengthen their attacking options in January. Obviously, a lot will depend if the Freakin takeover does go through before the turn of the year. Obviously, Sean Dyche and Everton will be hoping that is the case, and then money will be available to spend. As we've spoken in previous pods, Sean Dyche is in the market for more wingers, and Silas will be a player that I'm sure is on Everton's radar. How far up the list he is, I'm not too sure. Obviously, he's gone out to Red Star Belgrade from Stuttgart on loan. He's playing Champions League football this season as well. There is a release clause in his deal at Stuttgart, so it wouldn't be an expensive deal for Everton to do. I think around £12 million or something like that, maybe even less. But yeah, he's a good player, 24-year-old. He can play out wide on the right or down the middle as a number 9 as well. So he would definitely add options to Everton's attack in that respect. But as like Paul said, it's all hypothetical. We don't know what Everton are going to do in January until this takeover is finally completed and taken over. I'm sure if it is done by December time, the Freakin group will do everything they possibly can to make funds available, because they'll want to give Sean Dyche and the coaching team the best possible chance of ensuring not another relegation fight for Everton in this season as well. So yeah, I think Sean Dyche ideally would like to bring in another winger, stroke maybe another forward as well. I think it's an area of the team that he was looking to strengthen during the summer transfer window. They brought in Jasper Lindstrom, who's maybe not hit the heights so far since his loan move from Napoli, while Jack Harrison, who plays on the right wing this season, he's been a bit up and down and maybe not as consistent as he has been last season. But yeah, I do think a wide man is an area of the team that Everton would like to strengthen, and I'm sure they'll have a long list of players, not just Silas, but probably a lot of names on that list for January.
And Paul, will Everton, with this maybe new owner and obviously this uptick of form, be able to persuade Jared Branthwaite now to sign a new contract and stay at the club? Because obviously we know he has loads of suitors, but potentially this new owner and some more investment might be able to persuade him?
Oh, well, it's obviously going to be in a lot more stable condition than it is at the moment, so that's going to help. But we don't know. Again, we're talking hypothetically because we don't know that the new owner is definitely coming in. When it's all done, the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, then there's the conversations to be had there. And I think a lot for Jared Branthwaite as well on his own personal development depends on the team's success and how the team's doing. You can have all the wealth and the structure of a club off the field that you want, but if the team's not performing, and he's a young player, so he's going to get the opportunity to get into the international squad. At some point he'll be called into that, and when you get into the international squad and you're mixing around players that are playing in the Champions League every week, you're mixing around players that are playing in the Europa League, and you're talking to some of the boys about the trip that they had to wherever in Europe last week in the Champions League, and the Champions League's the pinnacle, that's where players want to play, and there's only so long a club doesn't show ambition on the field, can hold on to a player of that quality if there are Champions League clubs and other top clubs looking at him. He's going to command a big transfer fee. We've seen that. We've seen Crystal Palace hold out on Gay this summer, not let him go. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. So if you look at what the figures were touted around for Gay, Branthwaite's going to be in that bracket. Yes, Everton potentially, when you look at the ownership, you look at the wealth that they've got, they are going to be able to compete at that level. But are they going to be able to compete on the level on the field, which keeps him happy, which is the biggest thing for me. And I think a young player of his development, when he gets in that international squad, when he's mixing with the Champions League, I mean, how long is it going to take for Everton to get in the Champions League? None of us can see that happening anytime soon. And I think that's going to be a big pull. Financially, he's not going to be swayed at the moment. They're not going to be able to chuck enough money at him where he's going to turn around and say, I don't want to play Champions League football. All my international teammates are playing Champions League football. I've watched it all my life as a kid. That's where I want to play. It's only going to be a matter of time unless Everton start turning things around very quickly on the pitch. But realistically, Everton are a long way off the Champions League spots.